Hi, this is Ryan with Optrua. Welcome to another Smarter Systems video. Today we're going to be covering Copilot for Sales. So I know this is a Copilot for Sales video. However, one of the things that I wanted to just point to is that in Dynamics 365 Sales, an important concept that Copilot for Sales helps with is the timeline. And the timeline is just a central place where all of a salesperson's activities, or really anybody within the company that has an interaction with an account or a contact, their interactions all show up on the timeline. And the reason that Copilot for Sales is great is that it helps save time, effort, and then also data quality problems if you're cutting and pasting or having to type things twice. All of that is saved for you by the Copilot for Sales interface that I'll show in just a second. So our hope with these videos is to produce good content that's useful. So if you can see something or if you can think of something that would be helpful, please let us know. There's comments below. Just give us some ideas of what you might see in this video or the next, and we'll do our best to answer them. So the prerequisite, there's a new Outlook experience, and in the top corner, you can see this toggle here. I have it toggled on, and some of the functionality that I'm showing you does work in either the traditional Outlook or the new. It just works better if you're in the new Outlook. Some of the functionality is not quite there with the old legacy Outlook. So with that, you'll see Copilot for Sales. You'll see it on your ribbon. You'll see a Copilot for Sales button. And it's a little confusing because just like with all Microsoft products, you can get to something several ways. You don't have to just find the one way. So here's one way I'm pointing at. Right off the email message where the application finder is, you'll see Copilot for Sales. That's another way to get to it. A third way, if you need a third way, is underneath the Copilot icon that you're all familiar with. You'll see Sales there as well. I have a few emails pinned, which is a nice feature in the new Outlook. Just for demonstration purposes, but you'll see this track to Dynamics 365 little tag underneath some of the emails, and that just shows these are ones that I've maybe already processed, and so it gives you a visual representation. The summary can come directly from Copilot, so you'll notice if you have only Copilot, you'll see the summary or the Copilot icon there. You just won't see the Add Sales Insight. And so if you wanted to switch back to, well, what would just Copilot tell me? You can click and it'll tell you a few things. And this is just for the email in itself without any ties to any data that might be within CRM. So it's not tying to opportunities or previous information that's stored in CRM. It's only looking at this one individual email. Where if I change that to the Sales Insight side, it has the potential to go through your CRM system and look at any other information, particularly account information, other information that was saved on the timeline for other things, opportunities, and so forth. The summary is, the whole point of that is to help you save time by showing you things that are already there. Okay, so here I've clicked on an email that I've already tracked, but one thing, and this panel that comes up, the sidecar, if you will, has a number of different panels embedded in it. There's a panel for recent communications, summary of previous emails, what this particular email might be connected to, and then any information that you might be wanting to add to Dynamics. So in this case, I have tracked it already, so it's been saved, but I did forget to add a contact here. So I can quickly go, I can choose to add this as a new contact, which I'll do. And then you can see it brings up a panel where I can type in some information. If it knows information from the email thread, in this case, this was somebody that was CC'd in on the email. And so they didn't have the email signature, which might contain, for example, the phone number or other information related to that contact. So you can just quickly fill in any missing information. So you type in some of it, the system will find the information as close as it can. You can just put it in. And then when you save it, it just, instead of having to go over to CRM, add the contact, tie it to the email, do a couple of steps, it just did all that for us. Okay, so here's the next use case. Here's a brand new email that I'd like to track in CRM. The default tracking behavior is it'll try to look for an email address in an account, a contact, a lead, and try to match that. And if it finds it, it'll say, hey, this person is already in CRM. That maybe the person's in CRM, the email might not be, or any of those combinations. So let me just open up the Copilot for Sales panel, and then we'll go through step by step. Here we're seeing already that I have an email from Michael. It says to save the email, so I know I haven't saved it yet. It'll show me recent other communications that I could summarize and see if I wanted to take action on. It'll show me any key sales information that this vendor might be related to. And it shows me the contacts on this email are already in the system. So in this case, real simple, I don't have to deal with contacts or adding anything new. I can just quickly save it. It'll recognize the customer or the account that I want to save it to, and then I can just simply click save. You'll notice that it does take a second for it to save, but you can just move on and go on to the next email or the next thing you want to do. You don't have to necessarily wait for it. But and then when it does fully track, you'll see that little tracking tag underneath. Okay, so here's another email. The summary is working great on this one. This is the standard Copilot for Sales summary. Notice if you want to compare, you can look at the two different ones. But in this case, I just want to go right over to Copilot for Sales and make sure that all the people on this email are included in my system, and go ahead and save it over. So in this case, I could just save the email. I have a couple of recommendations here to add new contacts to CRM. I don't have to take those recommendations. I can say, yeah, these aren't the core people I'm working with. It's really, Cameron here and Steve. These are the ones I care about. If I did want to, I could just quickly click add and add. So then I would have 2 new contacts in my system. But taking just the simple way, I'll just go ahead and save this email. I can choose, in this case, I have 2 different accounts that are related, and I can choose the one I want. Along with, this one has attachments. I can choose to save the attachments or not save the attachments. So I'll go ahead and save that. And then notice it's going to save and work on. As this is saving, let me just point out a couple of other parts right here in the top of the Copilot for Sales panel. So on the ellipsis menu, you have a couple of options that are interesting. I think the main interesting ones are the diagnostics, which will tell you kind of what version of stuff you have, and the sign out if you wanted to sign into a different environment. And then you could say here if you wanted to switch environments, so you're doing some testing in a dev or UAT environment, or in this case, I don't want to forget to mention that Copilot for Sales is available both in Salesforce.com and in Dynamics 365 Sales. So either environment, what I'm showing here applies to both. Besides that, the other thing is directly from Copilot for Sales, you have the ability to just ad hoc create objects here if you want, leads, contacts, accounts. You can customize this, and I'll go over to that in just a second. And so, for example, leads was not something out of the box. You can add that as a very common thing that you might want. Okay, taking the next example is just maybe referencing information that is in CRM, but maybe being able to do it in the context of a new email or sharing it with a team member, maybe internal, that also has access to your same CRM system. So here's another email. I'm going to just open up Copilot for Sales. And the thing I wanted to show you was on the, when it kind of decides to connect a record to Dynamics, there's a More Actions ellipse at the end where you can directly open the record from Dynamics. You can copy a link, or in a second I'll show you some configuration where you could actually edit the record directly in place. And you can do that with the records by just kind of going down to seeing, like in contacts, I'm showing you the little ellipsis menu here where I could copy a link, or in the account area, same thing. I can copy, I can open it, And then there's some new functionality that's still in preview. So here's the calendar, and I have this appointment on my calendar. Let me just show you real quick. And you would do the same type of thing. You would track the appointment into Dynamics. I've already tracked this particular one, but let me just show you the Copilot for Sales panel. And you can see it looks very similar. It has these different panels throughout. And if it was able to tie it to an opportunity, it would try to do so, but it did connect to an existing account, existing contact, and so forth. So and you can see here that it even says track to Dynamics. Now this meeting did happen already, and let me show you what that looks like from the Copilot for Sales perspective, where it'll show up in Teams actually. So from my Teams experience, let me pull that up. You can see there's a Copilot for Sales channel, if you will, and then in that channel, you'll see the different meetings that you have coming up. And so this one was with Rockton Software. You can see on this first card here that it says get ready for the meeting. And this came just slightly before the meeting was, to be held. You can see how many people were invited, who accepted, who didn't accept. And then prior to the meeting, you could open this to get some insights and so forth on what might be happening. Then after the meeting, let me go down and show you the recap. Here it shows the meeting summary, shows some follow-up items. And let me open the recap from this Teams button. And so here it's typical Teams recording. It shows who was in the meeting, and there'll be a couple of, like if you have Copilot for Sales installed, you'll have this new Sales tab at the end. And you can see, like in this case, let me show you the mentions. This is a meeting that I had originally planned to go to, Ryan did, and I wasn't able to due to a conflict. And so I asked my team member, hey, can you cover this? And you can see even here that Yazid mentioned that I had a conflict and was not able to attend, and you can so therefore see, okay, I'm covered there, but what happened in the meeting? And so if I go into this preview, you can see I could draft a summary email, and it gives you the notes of what happened in the meeting, and I could save that directly over to Dynamics if I wanted to, or create an email. So there's the saved notes. I could draft an email, and you would, same type of thing, it drafts a summary email to the participants. It'll link it directly over to Outlook, and you can see that it popped everybody into that was invited to the meeting, mentions the key topics, what were the action items, and so forth. So that saved a ton of time. If you're used to putting together email summaries after a meeting, they take 10 or 15 minutes at least. I just did that in 10 seconds. The next interesting thing is that based on the transcript of the meeting, it'll go through and create a collection of tasks. Hey, fix the default view, fix the project lookup view, so forth and so on. So all of these things could then be created as tasks in Dynamics. That's starting to get closer and closer to Planner, more new functionality that's coming in a future video. And so you can see right from what I'm showing you here in Sales, you can get a lot of benefit just with Copilot for Sales, the way it works with Outlook, the way it works with Teams. And there's some other functionality that we're not going to cover today because it's still being worked out, but related to the other Office apps like Word and Excel that will start also kind of participating in this rich stream of information that's coming from Outlook and from Teams, all integrated back into Dynamics. So that's our video for today on Copilot for Sales. Hope you liked it. If you did get some value out of it, please like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out. And if there is something that you'd like to see, let us know. Leave a comment. We're here to produce something that's beneficial.